Good morning, you all. I'm getting ready to try this recipe for zucchini brownies. It's only like 8:30 this morning. I'm trying to get these baked in the oven before the temperatures get very hot outside. This isn't something I particularly will eat much of because it's, got a lot of sugar in it, but the family still likes their sweets, so I gotta fix them something every once in a while too. I'll probably have to sample it at least. But this recipe sounded really good. I don't see the name of the website that it came from. But if it's any good, I'll try to link it in the description box below. So it calls for all-purpose flour. I'm going to use self-rising, and I'm going to omit the salt and the baking soda because the self-rising already has it in there. I've got my oven preheated to 350. It says to line a 9 by 13 baking sheet or pan with full or parchment paper. I'm just going to use this Baker's Joy. It works pretty good by itself. And that's just to help it release from the pan easier. So let's get on with it. It says combine sugar, oil, and vanilla in a large bowl. Forgot to get out my vanilla. And it calls for 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. I had to go sit with the babies this morning while their mom went and got their school lunches for the week. And they cracked me up. They're so sweet and good this morning. The baby was asleep. She never did get up out of the bed. But I sat with the other two, maybe an hour. I don't know. Yeah, that's a half-cup measure. But Dylan, my grandson, he's not even in kindergarten yet. He's about 4 years old. He was singing, trying to sing his ABCs. Let me see how much will half cup will. But anyway, and I'm going to sound horrible, but I'm just wanting to give you the idea of how he was singing. He goes, A, B, C, E, A, B, C, E. And then he goes, won't you sing with me? He had me cracked up. It's cute. Oh, my goodness. But I can remember being little and not knowing the words to the song. And doing the to the parts I didn't know. I still do that now. Oh, I think that's one thing that makes the grandkids so special is you live your childhood through them. In other words, you relive your childhood through them is what I meant to say. Because you can relate to a lot of things and you can remember a lot of things that you did when you were little. But there's something. Okay, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. But there's something. They didn't want me to go this morning. I said, well, Mama's getting hungry. And Dylan says, well, sit and watch the cat video with me. And I said, well, okay. And then when I looked at the cat video, it said on there 20 minutes. So I sat there about 10 minutes. And they got up interested in something their mom was in the kitchen doing. And so I told Tabby, I said, I'm going to go on over to the house. And right as I'd stepped out the door, Delilah came around, Mama, I didn't want you to go. It says to do this with a mixer, the mixing, but I'm just going to try to do it with a spoon. I might mess up the recipe, I don't know. I'm just going to take my spoon through there and kindly blend that sugar and oil and that vanilla flavor. And I think the main thing for using the mixer would to get that vanilla incorporated all through that sugar. So I'm just going to take my time and do that. I just didn't want to dig the mixer out. It's not that big a deal. Okay, it says add flour, cocoa powder, the soda, the baking soda and salt, which I'm omitting those. And it says mix until a crumbly, dry mixture forms. So 2 cups of flour. I keep a little metal measuring cup down in my flour. And it measures out a cup. This is a real old metal cup. I can't remember the story about it. This belonged to my mama. I think it used to come in the big bags of flour back in the day. And after the last of the aunts passed away, I went down in the house, and a lot of stuff had already been took out and stuff, but they had an old popcorn tin. I guess that's what they kept their flour in. And my husband picked it up and it rattled. I said, "What is that?" And it was that little metal cup. So I got to keep that of my mama's and my aunts. You know, they all lived together. And so that means a lot to me. So I keep it in my flour tin. Half a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. A lot of good memories were spent down there at Mama's. I got to spend quite a bit of time at my other grandma's, but we primarily spent a lot of our time there at my Mama Lucy's. Because it was a little bit closer, but I have a lot of fond memories at my grandma's house too. Betty, she was a stickler for getting up early of the mornings. She'd come in there and she's like, "Well, breakfast is on the table. It's time to get out of the bed." And Buddy, you got out of the bed. But she was a good Christian woman. We looked up to her. Okay, so stir this up. And it says it's going to make like a stiff, kind of a crumbly mixture, it says. I tell you, they just don't make memos like they used to anymore. I don't seem like. They were a gem and a treasure, and I don't think when we were growing up that we realized how precious it was to have them in our life and the influence that they had on us. And now that we're adults, got kids of our own, we can look back. And I think that helped builds us as adults. But now I realize how precious of a gift that they were. And the papas too. But you know, most of us girls stick it close to the mammals. Continue mixing this. I had 2 aunts that lived there with my one mamaw. They never married or none. But they were my aunts, and they were there all the time. They kind of like mammas in their own way, the way they mother henned us and watched after us, made sure we wasn't getting into trouble and mischief, because there was always a bunch of us kids down there. Some of the little mischief things we done, I don't ever remember trying any of that at my grandma's house, my Grandma Barker. That would not have went. She would have lined that out real quick. Now, don't get me wrong, my mama on my mom's side, now she'd get the switch out, but I really don't remember ever getting a whooping with it. The threat was enough. Okay, let's see. Okay, it says to stir in 2 cups of zucchini that's been shredded. Now it says once you put this in here and you stir it up, it's going to be quite thick, which that's what I was wondering. But it says to let it set for 5 to 10 minutes. The zucchini will release its moisture, and then you stir it up again. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I had to get me a second cup of coffee a while ago. Mom got me started drinking that half and half. I never was much for having anything in my coffee. I used to always drink it just black. Then I navigated to drinking like the creamer that's got the flavorings and stuff in it. I don't know, it just kind of got burnt out on them after a while. And I quit using them. And I knew Mom would be coming over for 4th of July dinner, and she doesn't like the creamers with the flavors and stuff. She uses that half and half. So I had bought some to have on hand for her coffee. And I tried some of my coffee, and yeah, I think I'm hooked on it now. My favorite coffee to drink is at Tim Hortons, and it's a little pricier. It's not as cheap as some of the other brands, but it's so good. Now, I thought this called for some chocolate chips. Let me go back and look at my recipe and see if I left something out. Oh, it says 1 cup chocolate chips, optional. Well, yes, please. I think so. Let's measure out some chocolate chips. I didn't see it in her directions to add it in. Of course, it's a good chance I looked right over top of it. So let's add us a cup of chocolate chips. But yeah, I'm going to finish getting this mixed up. It is starting to moisten up, just that little bit of time. So I'm going to get these chocolate chips incorporated into this mixture. I'm going to let it set for the 5 or 10 minutes. And come back and stir it again. And then I'm going to put it in my pan. Put it in the oven. It says to bake it for 25 to 30 minutes until the brownies spring back to a touch rather than leave an indentation. And then it says to let your brownies cool for 30 minutes. And then it also has a recipe for some chocolate icing. So, okay, I'm going to let that set, kind of clean up my area a little bit, and I'll bring you back here in a moment after this has had time to set and the zucchini to kind of release some of its moisture. Okay, this has been setting for about 7 or 8 minutes, almost 10. So I'm going to start stirring it up and see if it's starting to come together a little bit. A lot of moisture has come out of this. Now it said the consistency of this dough should be like between a cookie dough and a typical traditional brownie batter. So it's coming together. There's still a little bit of dry powder in the bottom. So I'm going to let it set for about 5 more minutes, see if that helps. Let me bring the mix up to you all so you can see it better. I know the lighting's not the best. So yeah, I'll give it about another good 5 minutes, and we'll come back, stir it up some more, and then we'll put it over in our pan. Okay, it's been about 5 more minutes, so I'm going to give this another stir. It's starting to look more like a dough now. Wow, just that 5 extra minutes made a big difference. So I suggest maybe, she says let it go 5 to 10 minutes to set. Maybe even go up to 15. Yeah, that's looking really nice. I'll show it to you here in a minute. Okay. Much better. Can you see it there? Much better. So it is a consistency of like a cookie dough. Well, it's a little thinner than a cookie dough because cookie dough is pretty firm. But it's not quite as thin as a brownie batter. So it's kind of like an in-between. So I'm going to go ahead and get my baking pan sprayed with the Baker's Joy and scoop this batter, or brownie batter, I guess is what you'd call it, into my pan. I'm going to put it in the oven and bake it, I think it's about 25 to 30 minutes. And then we'll go from there. I always hold my breath when I spray that because it's pretty powdery from that flour that's in it. I thought that couldn't be good going down your lungs. Well, come out of the bowl, good and clean and easy. So the direction says just to mash it down. What's your favorite part of the brownie? You like a center cut piece or the edge? I like the edges. And here is our zucchini brownie batter. So I'm going to put it in the oven, and when I get done baking, I'll bring you back. Okay, well, I've got my brownies out of the oven. I did the touch test, and it does spring back, so 25 minutes was plenty. It's going to take a little while for this to cool, so when it does get cool, I will come back and we'll make that icing that goes on top of this and try it out. I'm excited. It smells really chocolatey in the kitchen here. Oh, I love chocolate. It's pretty well cooled. It's just very slightly warm to the touch, but I'm going to go ahead and fix this icing that goes on the top. It's a chocolate icing, and it calls for 2 cups of powdered sugar, Okay, that's just slightly less than 2 cups. I don't want to overfill it and it go everywhere. So I'm going to add that in there. Then it calls for 4 tablespoons of the cocoa powder. I'm loving this little rack that I installed the other day on the wall. It's been so handy. So 4 tablespoons, yeah. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it calls for 1/4 cup of salted butter melted. And then 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And 1/4 cup of butter, or 1/4 cup of milk. Now, I usually don't keep regular milk on hand, but I do keep the powdered milk, so I just mixed up a cup worth of that, and I'm just going to measure out 1/4 of a cup. And I'll put the rest of this in a little jar and seal it up and set it in the fridge and use it in something at another date. Let's give this a quick mix. Now it says to pour this mixture over top of the brownies, and it says to let them set for about 30 minutes before you cut into them. So that seems pretty well mixed. So I'll go ahead and pour this over top of my brownies. These little bows that I got from Walmart are so handy. Get the rest of that out with a spatula because it's too good to be left behind. That's pretty good. Get that smoothed out. Oh, it looks divine. I can't wait to try a bite after a while. Okay. So I'll let that set for 30 minutes. I'm going to clean up my surface again. I managed to get little dishes done while I was waiting on these to cool. But I'm going to give this Okay, you all, it's been 30 minutes, so let's not put this off any longer. I'm going to use this big wide spatula to cut these brownies up into individual pieces. Okay. I'm going to get a corner piece. And they peel up off the bottom of the pan really well. Alright, let's do the taste test. Mmm. It might be better than any brownies I've ever made. It's gonna be hard not to eat that whole brownie. I was aiming for just half. Okay, control, control, self-control. Mmm, delicious. I'm gonna set that to the side and fix me a cup of coffee. And that's gonna be delicious. So I'm just gonna put me a little paper towel over that and wrap this over with saran wrap. And I'm going to take my daughter-in-law one of these, and I've got a little snack to give the kids too. So give this recipe a try. It's really delicious. I can't recommend it enough. The only difference I made in it was I used self-rising flour by omitting the baking soda and or was it baking powder? I can't remember, and the salt. And I also let this, when it was in the mixture, had the zucchini in the batter, creating the batter for the brownies. I let mine go for 15 minutes instead of 10. And that was it. The rest of it was to the T. Absolutely delicious, you all. Couldn't get any simpler, really. So if you've got any of those zucchinis that need used up that's coming on in the garden, and you've done give them out to the neighbors, and they're still coming out your ears, there's you a good way to use it. Chop up your zucchini or shred it up and put them in the freezer and get it out for just stuff like this. It's perfect. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thanks for joining me. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and until next time, guys, bye.